So once you've sketched out your life-size puppet, you're gonna map out the supplies that you want to use, make sure they're big enough, measure it, and here's what ours looks like at first. I've used some pride flags for the stole, and the robe is actually old robes that used to be used in worship that will end up getting sewn together, and some giant rope. But you want to be able to look at it, see if it's big enough, see if you can see it from far away, and then you can, it's a lot easier to make changes before you start kind of sculpting giant things for your paper mache if you have it all laid out. Then you can tell how big does the head have to be versus the hands too. The next thing you're gonna have to figure out is how do you want to sculpt it before you even put the paper down. Some people use cardboard just because it's a little easier to use if you've never done any sculpting. I use this chicken wire because it's lighter and it's easier to make kind of round objects. I wanted to make this shape, and so it was a lot easier to make round stuff and to be able to mold it, kind of continuously mold it as I'm doing the paper mache as well. But you have to remember that you have to hold up these poles. I've intentionally done this for 3 people to help. That will help the person in the center to hopefully not fall over. The way I've decided to do it is with metal curtain rods, but that's because this giant puppet is going to be on Market Street in San Francisco, and I also know I want to be able to use it more than once. And so the curtain rods are light metal that go into each other. So see how they slide in and out? I've used the extra wire to kind of sew on the ends of the curtain rod. And this way I can take the whole thing apart and fit it into a car. And then when we get to the parade itself, they can be assembled back together, and it can be really firm to be able to kind of wave around. So that's how I did it. You can find what works the best for you. All right, so we've got kind of the start of the paper mache going on both of our hands. And I just want to give you some tips on how to do some of the complicated spots, like the fingers. One of the things that I do with the strips is put them on in kind of a crisscross pattern, like a basket weave shape, or like a hashtag. So when you're, over here we used paper bags, which is thicker, and it's a little bit easier, but we didn't have enough for the whole thing. So this is paper that's like the free paper. So the paper sticks really well to itself, but it won't stick very well to the chicken wire. So you wanna kind of drape the paper down and fit it the whole way, and then use the weight of the paper. You can do them in double strips or single strips to kind of hold it down like that. And you kind of just have to fake it till you make it for a while. Just doing long strips that hang down and stick to each other. And it will wiggle a little bit, but that's fine. And then just keep doing the crisscross pattern like this. And then you'll be able to do some more kind of in here, and that will just make it easier for you to get around. On these corners, like on the fingertips, you're gonna go around like this and just kind of let gravity hold it, and then get a second one that you hook on the bottom. Oop-de-doop. A little sticky. And then kind of pull it tight around like this. And then eventually, after you've done that a couple of times around, you'll have an underneath portion that you can affix it to, and then you'll be able to get some better definition in there. And then you just kind of keep going. And you don't want to get it too thick. You want to stop and let it dry at least overnight. We're going to do probably every other day when we do these layers. And we've already got the poles in there. We're covering up the poles. And then I'll show you the next step. Okay, so now I've done about 2 layers on each, and you'll see it's still kind of flimsy. So you want to keep adding more and more layers of your paper mache until when you push on it, it's firm. So this is our rig that we've set up. This has the this is called an exterior metal backpack holder. And we've got our pipes in here. The part you see up here are the shoulders. There's a little bit of PVC pipe with some attachments on it. And the center pole is the spine. And I'll show you how I attached them in just one second. So here's how we installed the bottom, that same kind of curtain rod stopper sewn in on the bottom of the backpack. And then up here, the top of the curtains is affixed with, it's like a little T. It just gets pushed in there, see? And we'll glue it so that it's extra firm. And it will make fewer pieces to have to assemble later. So that this part will make the shoulders. So that's gonna be the shoulders on the top. Another good tip that you might want to use is when you mix your big tub of glue and water, do it in something with a lid. So you can just put a lid over it and then open it back up and you'll have it ready to go. So then it won't dry out. So today I'm working on painting some of the parts. These are the hands. They were finally firm enough to the touch that I could paint them. And I'm using a big gallon of tempera paint because I want to do this the most inexpensive way possible. The fastest way to do it is to use like house paint. But I use tempera in part because it's washable. So if you like spill, you can clean it super easy. But do know that all of the choices that I make to make it less expensive make it more time consuming. So when you use the free papers, you have to do like 4 more layers. When you use the tempera paint, that means that I've already painted on here maybe about 5 layers of paint. And there are still parts that you can kind of see through it. I like that effect because I like the idea that you can kind of see how things are made when you look at them up close. And I like that it's a do-it-yourself kind of thing and that it looks like a do-it-yourself thing. And I think if it's too professional looking, people think you bought it or a corporation is at the protest. But make your own choices, because if you don't have a lot of days to work on this project or you don't want to put that many hours in it, then you should go another way. So on the face of Jesus here, we've used the brown paper bags on the whole thing, and you can see that it will take a lot fewer coats of paint when we're painting it because it's mostly got no writing on it. And so if you want to take the time to get the brown paper instead of the free paper, it'll be a lot easy when you're in the painting stage. So after you have painted the different parts of your puppet to meet your specifications, then you're going to put Mod Podge on the top of it to try to seal it, because tempera, when it gets wet, just goes away. That's why it's lovely to paint with in a church, because if you spill it, you can clean it up, but you got to find a way to keep it affixed to your project, or if it gets wet for any reason, it will just fall right off. So when you are applying your Mod Podge, you just make a really, really thick layer. Use a foam brush so that you don't just rub the paint, the tempera paint that you just used, right off of your puppet. and just as thick as possible. Get that layer on there. It's good to have a tarp down, again, because it might splatter, but it'll dry clear, so it will be okay. And then as it dries, it'll look like this here. I don't know if you can see it. It'll be kind of shiny, and you'll be able to see where the coat is. So apply really liberally, and if you're like me and you're really nervous that it will get damaged, do more than one coat. Just let it dry, maybe 24 hours in between. So one thing that I want to show you is that some of the Mod Podge did not glue dry clear where it gathered really thickly. It's okay, because from the distance that most people are going to view it, you can't even see it, and so it's fine. But so when I did the Mod Podge on Jesus's face, it's still a little bit wet and drying. I just did a little bit thinner coat, and then was sure to go back when there were parts that pooled and try to spread them out as much as possible to avoid that happening again. So in order to make the hair on our big puppet, we're using 3mm foam that we attach using super glue, a lot of super glue, and putting it on and shaping it. Really important to get the shape right before you start gluing it. And so the first thing you do is you put down a base layer that covers the whole area where you will put hair, and then on top of your base layer, you can add shapes that will add texture to the hair. I recommend kind of like crescent moon shapes or triangle shapes, and you can see how it really defines the area. And I'll show you how I put it on, and then after I put it on, I have to cover it in Mod Podge. And you can paint it to change the color. You can leave it the same color, but you put the Mod Podge on it so that the foam doesn't wear away or other chemicals don't interact with it. So if you noticed, the way that I'm putting it on is to start at the bottom, layering up. And by the way, on the back of Jesus's head, I've used the 2mm foam because I want it to blow in the wind. The front, I don't want it to blow as much, so that we can get some good pictures with folk. But so you start on the bottom, layering up. So now I'm going to show you a couple of the accessories that we made for inside of the Jesus puppet. We got some fans so that it's a little less claustrophobic, that point up at the face of the person. And then we made this hat that has a pillow so that when the pole is in here, it doesn't schmuck you in the head. So we made a little pillow headband.